Right, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Wonderful. So, as some of you may know, and I've seen a lot of faces that I recognize from our launch event, which was on the 19th of October, so literally a couple of weeks ago, we launched the RAK Digital Assets Oasis, and this is a free zone in Ras Al Khaimah. But before I talk to you about RAK Dao and Ras Al Khaimah, let me start by saying, as we're in Dubai, I love Dubai. And I'm going to explain why. So I've spent 43 years of my life in Dubai, and it initially started in 1969 when I came with my parents. And I wish I have some photos from 1969 to show you, but it's not what you see today. And during those 43 years, I've been involved in many things, including the creation of the DIFC in 2004. And I've served on that board for 12 years, including being the chairman and CEO of Dubai Sovereign Wealth Fund, Dubai International Capital, and so on. Now, I say all this because the UAE is a lot more than just Dubai. And I repeat, it is a lot more than just Dubai. And sometimes I tell people, look, Ras Al Khaimah is just a suburb of Dubai. So you land in Dubai airport, it's 45 minutes to Ras Al Khaimah, it's 45 minutes to the Palm. So it's the same. During this presentation, I'm going to talk a little bit about why the UAE, in my opinion, and you heard from a lot of the speakers this morning who talked about Dubai, but I want to talk more about the UAE, is creating the best jurisdiction in the world for digital and virtual asset companies. And that's not just because of the boxes that we tick as the UAE, but regulations for regulated activities and unregulated activities is a key component of that. And therefore, what we're doing really is very complementary to each other and creating that full solutions, A to Z, the ecosystem, the regulations, the safety and security that a lot of people keep talking about. We need a safe jurisdiction in which to set up our businesses, and we will then know that these businesses will survive in the long term. And we don't have to go from one jurisdiction to the next, because the regulator has changed their mind or they've introduced some things, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So in the 15 minutes that I have, I'll quickly introduce you to the world's first and only common law free zone dedicated to virtual and digital asset companies. So what we did was not a Me Too type of free zone. It's a new free zone. It is a unique free zone. It's a free zone that complements everything else that is happening in the UAE, but is a global free zone because there isn't anything like it anywhere in the world. We are in an environment where technology is changing rapidly. And with that comes the need to innovate, to create regulations that can, there we go. Regulations that can accommodate these changes. But it's also about getting the right balance. So one of the things, and we've been on quite a journey in the last 18 months. This whole started truly as a vision of His Highness, the ruler Sheikh Saud, the ruler of Ras Al Khaimah, who saw this as a big opportunity. And it happened after a meeting with one of the big names in the industry, and His Highness absolutely saw it immediately, that there is a big opportunity here. And so we've spent these 18 months creating what eventually was launched as RAK Digital Assets Oasis. And during that time, we also looked at even being a full, let's call it the Ras Al Khaimah Dubai Vara, or the RAK Vara. And we decided not to do that because we wanted to create something that was not a Me Too, but as a complementary solution to what everybody is looking for. All these companies, all the startups, the ones you talked that they were talking about earlier, don't need to have expensive regulations. They don't need it. 95% of these companies don't need to be regulated in that sense. However, what we don't want them to do is use RAK Dao as a backdoor to do regulated activities and to attract scammers from all over the world to the UAE. And that's why, even though it is a free zone for the unregulated activities, and we have 170 of them, we do have regulations. We do have bylaws. We have all sorts of restrictions on what you can and can't do. And maybe one day in the future, we do then move up and become the regulator out of Ras Al Khaimah for the UAE, for RAK, for these activities. And that's why we signed an MOU with ESCA to be the Ras Al Khaimah Vara, let's call it, so that you can understand exactly what we're doing. But that's all about getting the right balance. So if we open the door too much, then we will attract the scammers, and we will attract people who want to use this as the back door to be licensed in the UAE to do regulated activities. And if we close it too much, then we haven't achieved anything, because they won't be able to operate in our jurisdiction. Key partnerships are really important, and that's what we've been working on behind the scenes and started to make announcements even during kind of our soft launch until we got to the point where we launched fully on October 19th. And that means collaborations. So we talked about banking, I think, in the session before the last, that's a challenge. We made sure that we addressed that from day one. These startups, these projects always struggle with banking. And so one of the first things we did was talk to the banks, explain our regulations, explain our compliance requirements, et cetera, sign MOUs. And so the companies that have already got licensed by us, and it's happening very quickly, are already getting bank accounts. Critical. The MOU with ESCA, courts is very important, so that these companies end up in common law courts that are more in line with their setup, and courts that understand them. So it's great that the DIFC courts and the ADJM courts are making the effort to understand blockchain, Web3, digital asset companies, and the nuances of those companies compared to normal companies, compared to normal financial services, so that when we launch things like DAOs in the future, they're able to handle the issues that might come up with that. And we continue to work on building that ecosystem, from incubators to VCs to others that are important to making the ecosystem work very well. So I touched on this before. Transparent legislation, specialized activities. It is the only common law free zone in the world that's only focused on digital and virtual asset companies. 170 activities within that space. Okay, you can go to the other free zones in the UAE who do from warehousing to industrial to manufacturing, and then you can get a software license. But will you end up in an ecosystem with like-minded companies that you can talk to who are doing similar things to what you're doing, where you can collaborate and succeed together? And I think we talked about the ecosystem, which to me is essential to creating that success and differentiating us from the other free zones. Because by having the accelerators, the incubators, the sandboxes, and all of these, you're able to then create an ecosystem where people in this space can collaborate and can create success together. And over the next few months, we will start to activate some of the MOUs that we've signed. We'll start to create monthly meetups for the sectors that we feel are the lower hanging fruit in this space. So gaming is one that we're really, really focused on. One of the ones that I'll talk to you about is this new products and solutions. So again, just rolling out another free zone in a country that has almost 50 free zones makes no sense whatsoever, and that's why we didn't do that. Ras Al Khaimah has RAKs already, and RAKs is a very successful free zone in Ras Al Khaimah. But His Highness and the leadership decided we want a specialized free zone, not to add products to what RAKs already offers, because then you're not going to be able to speak the language of people within this space and get them to understand what you're building and show them the USP and the values. So, new products and solutions. There is a reason why we called it RAK Dao. And you see the logo doesn't even say RAK. It says Digital Assets Oasis. And as I'm talking here, I'm now thinking Sabrina is in the audience. The D, the A, and the O in digital assets Oasis should be a different color so that people know it's DAO. We're here to create DAO products. We're here to create a legal wrapper for DAOs. We're here to make the UAE, particularly Ras Al Khaimah, the DAO global hub. During the bull market, there were 100 DAOs a day set up, 100 a day. And hopefully, the bull market will come back. And almost every project probably needs 2 or 3 DAO setups. So we believe there is a huge opportunity there. And almost everybody I talk to tells me about the pain points of DAOs, how DAOs are the future, especially as we move down the Web3 journey, but that nobody is doing it well. And you can go to Switzerland, and you'll pay a lot of money, and they're not happy with it. You can go to Marshall Islands and pay a lot less money, but it's Marshall Islands. What about if you had the right product in one of the best jurisdictions in the world called the UAE? And add to that the most important layer, which is the legal wrapper. Because, great, you create a DAO, and then inevitably there's going to be disputes. And what do? You go to the local courts? Absolutely not. And even if you go to the common law courts, DIFC and ADGM, if it's the same, no disrespect to our judges, but if it's the same judges, they're going to say, what the hell is DAO, and how is that going to work? So I know for sure that DIFC, and particularly ADGM, are focusing on building their capabilities and their courts to accommodate and do dispute resolution for tech, digital, virtual asset companies, including DAOs, because they see it like us. DAOs is a huge opportunity. So that's one key product that I would say, keep your eyes on that. I'm hoping we would announce it before the end of the year, so in the next couple of months. But because it's complicated, and because we have to get all sorts of approvals, and because we want to make sure that it works, and because we want to make sure that the courts are ready, it may slip into Q1 next year. But I say this because I see it as a key part of what RAK Dao is going to be about, creating new products and solutions that meet the demands of this sector. And those keep changing, and those keep evolving, and we have to evolve with that. So again, I want to highlight the point about being complementary. You've got options today. If you have a regulated activity, you can go to Dubai VARA. And they're doing a great job, and they're taking their time, and they're doing it by the book. You can go potentially to the IFC, but I would say more to ADGM. Or you can go to ESCA. And we have an MOU with ESCA. You can come to us, and we can hold your hand and take you to ESCA for a regulated activity. But what's missing is the other 95%. The unregulated activities in digital and virtual assets, in Web3, in blockchain, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what we created. And so I get very often the question, so why are you competing with Dubai? We're not competing with Dubai. We're complementary to what the UAE offers. And I keep saying, look at it as a UAE solution or solutions, and it tells you then very clearly that you are in the best jurisdiction in the world. Because frankly, if we were doing all this in, I don't want to pick on a country and then upset someone, but you're in the UAE, it ticks all the boxes, whether it's connectivity, livability, banking, legal, et cetera, all the specialist expertise and so on. And one of the things that I always say to our leadership is that the best thing about what's happening right now is that we are attracting top talent, top brains from all over the world who are coming to the UAE, who are coming to Dubai and Abu Dhabi and Ras Al Khaimah and want to be part of our ecosystem and want to live here, et cetera, et cetera. That is way more valuable than selling a few licenses. And if you take a 5-10-year view, this is truly extremely valuable for the UAE. So it's about collaboration and creating the strongest jurisdiction in the world. So, and it says I have 1 minute, so perfect. I invite you to join us where you can imagine, create, and evolve, where you can succeed in building your Web3 business, your Web3 companies, part of our ecosystem, and I'll go back to what I said earlier. I've been here 43 years in total. And Dubai, Ras Al Khaimah today is Dubai 20 years ago. and it's open for business. The leadership is extremely supportive. So please come and talk to us, and I'm sure we can do business successfully together. Thank you for listening to me.